So this program is going to be really focused on maintaining that hip neutrality and stability that we've kind of been working on and keeping that shoulder nice and strong, or shoulders strong, I should say. We'll also be working with those feet and those ankles a little bit too. So a little bit different than what we do when we work together, just because we don't have necessarily the bars or the mirrors or obviously the hands-on approach that we would have. But this will at least give you a little bit of work to help you maintain through this period. This is my production assistant, Maggie, down here, so you'll see her kind of moving in and out. But let's get going. So first of all, you can do this freestanding somewhere if you have a mirror you can watch yourself in, or what I would probably recommend is doing it somewhere where you have a counter or something to hold on to. With that in mind, I'm going to use the bar stool to kind of demonstrate. So again, have something to hold on to start out, just so we can really focus on that neutrality through those hips. And again, if you can do it someplace where you can kind of watch your reflection in the window or a mirror, that would be even better, because you know how important it is to keep everything nice and stable. So we're going to start off with just your squats. So holding on to the counter, the back of a chair, something, I don't really care what it is. I want you to hold on to it, feet hip width apart for me. And again, kind of look down. Make sure those feet are parallel and those knees are kind of straight. We want everything nice and square. And I just want you to sit back in those hips, leaning away from whatever you're holding on to, so that we're not going forward. Notice how my weight's going forward and all that tension's in my knee. We want our weight going backwards, so the weight's in our glutes. As long as you do this, you shouldn't feel that tension in your knee. Weight in your heels, squeeze those glutes, and stand up tall. So inhale, sit back, leaning away from the bar, the chair, the counter, whatever you're holding on to. Squeeze, come up tall. Keep that going. I'm going to turn facing you, but keep doing what you're doing. Again, when you sit back, think about these hip bones equally moving back. So for you, I really want you to think about pushing that right hip back, standing up tall. So again, sit back in those hips. Really focus on pushing both of those hips back evenly and coming up for me. Give me one more like that on the counter. So sitting back, and again, notice how when I'm sitting back, my knees aren't diving in or out. I want you to focus on that too. So even though you're holding onto the counter, look down at the bottom. Make sure those legs are in alignment so that everything's nice and square. That'll help you know if your hips are neutral as well. Because most likely, if the hip's going back more than the other, I'm going to push my right hip back so I'm out of alignment. Notice how my left knee is diving in. So when you sit back into your squat, if your legs are staying parallel, most likely your hips are as well. Good. Come on up. Shake those legs out a little bit. I want you to find your hip bones for me. So go ahead and find those hip bones right on the front. Put your fingers on them and just kind of hold your hips with your fingers on your hip bones. We're going to do a little more squat work, but standing without the assistance, so you can really feel those hips move. As you sit back, I want you to think about kind of looking and watching those hip bones, those fingers, and making sure they're moving evenly. So if they're not, let's say your right hip is rotating back more, you're going to see that in those fingers, and you're going to be able to more easily make adjustments. So again, it's not a big squat here. I just want you to kind of lean back just a hair. This is it. So we're not trying to get down deep. I just want you to shift your weight back a little bit, just enough to load your glutes, but be able to watch your hip bone alignment and stand up tall. Keep that going for me. Little sit back and stand up tall. And again, watch those fingers. So you're going to be able to see if your hips are hiking up or down, or if they're rotating back or front by watching those hands just moving nice and slow. Just a little sit back. Again, just enough to load those glutes. And coming up tall. Give me 3 more like that. Keeping those legs parallel with each other so again our knees aren't diving in, our ankles aren't rolling in or rolling out. More importantly for you, rolling in. Really keep the weight, kind of think about pushing through your baby toe, through the outside of that foot. Last one for me, sitting back, keep those hips neutral. And stand up nice and tall and shake it all out for me. Perfect. Perfect, perfect, perfect. All right, let's go into a little bit of lunge work here, which I know are your favorites. All right, we are gonna target that left side. So we're gonna do the left side, the right side, and go back to the left. Because again, what we were really working on was trying to strengthen up that left glute so that your back didn't do as much of the work. So go back to your counter, your chair, whatever you have that you're holding onto that's stable. Move my little stool there. Holding on. Okay, so again, tall posture, feet hip width apart. We're going to step back with our right leg, so we're loading our left. Pay attention to my right leg, how it's nice and straight. It's not bent, it's straight. And again, notice how I'm kind of leaning into this front leg. So from my back to my leg, it's in a nice straight line. So all my weight is in this front leg. There's a little bit in the back leg, but not much. We're not shifting our weight back. Holding here, stand up tall and together. So again, reaching back, but not shifting back. Keeping the weight here, nice long flat spine. Squeeze that left glute and stand up tall. Keep that up for me. Give me one more like that, and then I'm gonna have you kind of focus on those hips a little bit more as far as keeping them neutral. Perfect. Find those hip bones again for me. So holding on to those hip bones, don't take as big of a step as what you were. I just want you to reach back and kind of lean forward a bit so you're into this leg. Look at your hip or at your fingertips. Most likely your right hip is going to be dropping down. I want you to really pick your right hip up towards your armpit and stand up tall. Keep that going for me. So again, we're going to step back, not a huge step back, leaning into this front leg. Weight is going to be in your heels. Look at your hands for me. So again, if this right hand is lower than your left, really pick it up and slightly pull it forward for me. And stand up tall. We're going to do that 5 more times. Stepping back. Keep those hips neutral. So really pick your right hip up. Coming up tall. Good. Little step back. Just enough to load this left leg. Coming up. Last 2. Reach it back. Nice even hip. Squeeze that right hip up. Really squeeze your left glute to stand up. So again, pick your right hip up towards your armpit, pull it forward ever so slightly, and hold this. Hold right here. Hold those neutral hips. Hold for 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1, and come up tall. Shake it out, because that left glute should be on fire. Shake it out, shake it out. All right, let's switch legs. So same thing, holding on to the counter to start, but we're going to load our right leg. So nice long step back just to get working into this a little bit. And again, back leg is straight. Chest is hinged forward a bit, so our back is straight. We're not up at an angle. From our heel to the top of our head's one long line. Wiggle your toes for me on this front leg. We want the weight in our heel. Squeeze this glute and stand up tall. We're going to do that 4 more times. Nice long reach back. Get that long extension back and standing up tall. Perfect. Inhale as you go back. Look at your knee. Make sure your knee's not diving in, but it's over your foot in front of your hip. Coming up. Last 2. And up. And last 1. Long reach back. Squeeze this glute. Coming up tall. Perfect. All right. We're going to go back to not holding on to anything, finding your hip bones, still working on this right leg though. So, little step back on the left side, not nearly as big, leaning into this front leg a little bit, but again, wiggle your toes. You want the weight in your heels. Check your hips. Are those fingers perfectly even? So one's not tilted back, one's not hiked up. We want them perfectly level and stand up tall. Keep that going. So again, we're not taking nearly as big of a step back and right back up tall. Keep that going, focusing on neutral, balanced hips. Inhale as you go back. Exhale as you come up. The other thing I want you to really focus on is keeping your knee in front of your hip, in front of your foot. Don't let it dive in. And try to focus on your ankle as well. I know that's a big one for us. Really press that ankle out to the side. Think about pushing through your baby toe, through the outer edge of your foot. Give me 1 more. And stand up tall. Shake those legs out. And we're going to go back to the left side one more time, because again, that right side is stronger than the left. So we're really trying to catch that left glute up to the right so that those hips stay, A, stay neutral, and B, your back doesn't have to work as much. So, all right, back to that left side. Find your hip bones for me. Stepping back with the right leg, so we're loading the left. Wiggle those toes a bit. Check your alignment, knee and hip. Check your ankle. Really press through the outside of that foot. Squeeze your left glute and stand up tall. 4 more. Little step back. But again, we're not shifting our weight back. We're keeping our weight forward over this leg. Check your hips. Pull that right hip up towards your armpit and stand up tall. Good. Last 3. Little reach back. Pick that hip up towards your armpit and standing up tall. We have 2 left. Inhale as you reach back with that foot. Again, look at this foot. Each time, we're not trying to rush through these. I want you to kind of pause at the bottom of each one. Check your alignment. Check your hip alignment. Check your knee alignment. Check your ankle. Coming up tall. And last one, we're going to hold this one. So holding right here, again, nice long line between back leg and back. Push out to the baby toe. Push out on the edge of that foot. Make sure your knee's in front of your hip. Pick this right hip up towards your armpit and pull it forward just a little bit. Hold it here. Hold it for 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Stand up tall. Shake it out. Shake it out. Kind of take a big stretch forward if you need to. Kind of wiggle those knees because those glutes just did a lot of work. That was perfect. All right. Let's give those glutes a little bit of work. A little bit of a break. And move on to our shoulders here. So what I want you to do, if you have some small hand weights, that's perfect. If you don't, that's okay. Grab a couple cans of soup or something. You don't need a lot of weight for this. The goal is to do more therapy-based work, so we're not really looking for a lot of weight here. So again, if you have some small weights, that's perfect. If not, grab a can or 2 of soup or any canned good you have, and that will work. All right, tall posture for me. 1 can in each side or 1 weight in each hand. And I just want you to lift straight to the front, but only shoulder height, and inhale down. So tall posture, strong core. Lift straight to the front, shoulder height, and right back down. Keep that going, moving nice and slow. Notice as we're lifting, we're not letting our shoulders shrug up, we're not getting tight, we're keeping those shoulders relaxed down our spine. So exhale to lift, inhale to lower. Keep that going for me as I kind of talk you through some cueing points here. I want you to focus on keeping your core strong, so as you lift, we're not leaning back into it. We want a little bit of engagement through our core here. We're going to go 1 more per side, give or take where you're at so you're even. And relax. Shake those arms out. Hold on to those cans of soup for me, though. You are not done with them. All right. With those cans of soup, I want you to turn your palms up, again, or weights. If you have weights, that's perfect. Palms up, tall posture. We're just going to do a slow set of bicep curls. So again, keeping those elbows at your side, tall posture. Exhale as you curl up. Inhale as you roll down. Again, just getting a little bit of arm work in here. And again, this is as important for your posture as anything. The stronger we keep that upper body, the less our upper back's going to have to work to keep us tall and neutral. Give me 3 more curls. 3, 2, and 1. Perfect. All right. Only hold on to one of those weights. Again, whether you're using weights or something else, a gallon of milk, a jug of water, whatever you want to use, that is totally up to you. But you're only going to need 1 of them. Come back to your counter or whatever you were using to kind of stabilize on. Step back a little bit from it and kind of lean down into it. So you're supported, but you're at an angle. So one arm's going to be supporting, the other arm's just going to be hanging, holding that weight. From here, we're going to pull that elbow straight back and up and reach it down, nice and slow. Exhale, row it up. Inhale, reach it down. Again, notice how my back's staying really flat. I'm not kind of arching, I'm not hunched. Nice flat back, row that elbow straight back. So the thing I want you to focus on is when you row that elbow, not to shrug your shoulder to your ear. Keep that shoulder blade down your back. That elbow's coming straight up, coming down. Keep that going. Kind of think about the old pull start lawnmowers and weed eaters that we used to have to use. That's what I want you to think about. Give me 3, 2, and 1, and switch those arms for me. So again, go ahead and switch hands. Hold on, stabilizing yourself with something slightly angled towards the floor so your other arm is dangling. Pull that elbow straight up and back, stretching down. Row it up, stretch down. Again, keeping this shoulder nice and depressed. So again, as we row up, we don't want to shrug and hunch. We want to keep that tension in the back of the arm, in our lat, in our delt. So again, a lot of times when we have shoulder issues, yes, we need to strengthen the shoulder itself. There's something going on there. But a lot of times it's because our upper back muscles are weak. And when I mean upper back muscles, keep that row going. I'm talking kind of your lat, your delt, this trap, kind of that whole upper body shoulder complex. So if we can strengthen that, it'll A, help with better posture, and B, it'll help keep that shoulder stronger. Give me one more, rowing up, stretch it down, relax, set those weights down for a second. We're going to go back to some lower body work. If you have a stair, that would be ideal, even if it's like a front porch stair. I'm going to demonstrate on a stool. I don't recommend using a stool because sometimes they can kind of flip, and that's not the goal of this. So ideally, I just want you on something where you're elevated a little bit. So what I'm going to have you do is get to where you have a step, and if you need to listen to these directions and then pause it while you go find the step and run through this exercise, that's totally fine. Or you can do it with me, that's up to you. But I want you on the step and holding on to a banister or something. I want you holding on to something so you're stable. I want you on the balls of your feet so that your heels are off the back. Alright, so balls of your feet are on. And before we do anything, check your ankle positioning. I really want you to make sure that those ankles aren't rolling in and your knees aren't diving in. So hip, knee, and foot is in a straight line. We're really pressing out through the outside of our baby toe. We're going to drop those heels down, so letting those heels kind of drop off the step a little bit, and then lift up evenly through all of our toes, lifting straight up. Dropping down, get that nice little stretch through the back of that ankle, and then lift up through those toes. Keep that going for me. Real quick, couple more cues real quick. As you go to lift up, I want you to focus on really lifting evenly between the big toe and the baby toe. So I know we talk about rolling out to the baby toe a lot, but for this one, you really want to focus on that foot being perfectly straight. And as you roll up, this foot, ankle, and calf and knee are all in a nice straight line. So what we don't want to see is kind of this ankle diving in or even the ankle rolling out. We want it nice and straight, lifting controlled up, controlling as we lower down. All right, so either A, keep that going, or hit pause and go knock those out. Either way. But I'm going to have you give me about 10 to 15 of those, just nice and slow, up and down. And I'm demonstrating right here on one foot because it's easier to show the camera angle, but I want you doing both at the same time for me. So dropping down, both feet coming up, again checking those ankles, making sure everything's staying nice and neutral. We're going to do about 3 or 4 more here, so if you're coming back, you can use this time to stretch, or if you're doing them with me, keep going for 2 and 1. Perfect. All right, shake those ankles out for me. That was perfect. All right, we're going to go back to those squats one more time, but we're going to change it up a little bit this time. This time I want you doing them coming up off of something. So whether it's a dining room chair, the couch, I don't care what it is, we're going to be kind of actually getting up and down, but in our squat posture. So standing a little bit in front of your seat. Again, find your hip bones for me. Our feet are going to be about hip width apart. I want you to inhale. Reach those hips back, and we're going to sit all the way down. Sit down. Again, find your hip bones. Lean forward into those legs. Come up slow for me so you can really kind of feel those hip bones to make sure that you're coming up neutral. So as you're sitting down, watch those fingertips. And as you're standing up, watch those fingertips to make sure one hip isn't pressing back more or hiking up. So again, we're going slow and controlled here so that we can watch those fingertips, that if we need to push our right hip back a little bit more, we can. Or if we need to push the left hip back a little bit more, we can. But again, watch those fingertips on your hip bones as you come up and down, nice and slow. If it's too hard to do this without kind of having some hands somewhere for stabilization, that's okay. Just think about going slow and controlling your squat. Keep that going for me. Give me 5 more just like that. Nice and slow down, nice and slow on the way up. Again, it's all about our alignment. Not just our hip alignment, which is super important, but our knees and our ankles as well. Kind of that whole ground up approach is what we're trying to do here. So focus on your hips, but every now and then check those knees, check those ankles. Make sure everything's nice and neutral as you rise and as you sit. Should have probably about 2 more left. Nice inhale as you reach back. Squeeze those glutes as you exhale and stand up tall. Again, try to keep the weight in your heels. Those toes are kind of there to help you keep balance. You don't want to get your weight into your toes. You want the weight in the back of your heels. Give me 1 more nice deep breath in as you reach back to sit down. And exhale, come up nice and tall for me. Very, very nice. That was perfect. All right, we're going to do a couple stretch things here real quick, and then you will be done with this program. All right, you don't need any weights, nothing like that. I want you to turn your palms out, facing away from your body. Keeping those palms just like that, I want you to inhale, and I want you to slowly circle those hands up to the ceiling, keeping your palms facing out, and I want you to reach as high as you can. So we're stretching through those shoulders, and then slowly lower down. Again, keeping your palms facing away from your body. Sometimes this is a bigger range of motion work than you think it's going to be. So again, palms facing out, we're just coming up slow overhead. And when we come up, we don't want to shrug up. We want to reach up. There is a difference. We don't want to be like a turtle and lose our neck. We want our shoulders and our shoulder blades to stay down. We just want to stretch through them. And coming down. Perfect. From here, I want you to bring your hands up, so kind of like they're sitting on a countertop. So our elbows are bent right in front of right to the side of our shoulder, and our hands are out in front of us. Again, think about resting those arms like they're on a countertop. Keep your upper arm right where it's there, like it is on a countertop. And I want you to bring those hands up, making a field goal, so palms are facing forward, and then rotate right back down. Keep that going. Rotating up and rotate down. If that's too much tension in your neck and your shoulders, and that's fine if it is, lower your elbows a hair, but keep that going. Rotate up and rotate down. Keep that flow going. Again, this is shoulder work. It's good shoulder work, but it's great range of motion work and a little bit of a stretch. So opening tall. And again, notice how as I'm rotating, my upper arm and my elbows aren't moving up or down. We're just pivoting around that upper arm. 1 more for me. Again, relax your neck. Drop those shoulder blades. We don't want to be like a turtle and shrug up. And relax those arms. Shake them out a little bit. Perfect. Okay. Turning to the side so you can see my hips and my back a little bit. I want you to have your knees soft, not locked out, and not bent. Just kind of soft where they feel good. We are going to move from our hip and our hip only. I want you to tuck your chin to your chest. And I want you to roll down slowly for the floor, getting a nice stretch through those legs. And then slowly roll it up 1 vertebrae at a time. Your shoulders, your neck, and your head come up last. Perfect. From here, we're going to change it a bit. So again, from our hips, we're going to keep our back perfectly flat. We're going to hinge forward. So again, notice I'm not hunching forward. I'm moving from my hip and I'm hinging down. Hold it there. Engage that core. Squeeze your glutes and stand up tall. We're going to do that 4 more times. So hinge from our hips. Keep that tummy strong. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze those glutes and stand up tall. Last 3. Inhale forward. Exhale up. Inhale forward. And exhale up. And relax. Very, very nice. All right. Last work through these shoulders. Palms are going to be facing each other. Hands are going to be at your side. I want you to lift straight to the front. Hold when you get about shoulder height. Open out to the side as wide as you can. So even if that means kind of pulling back, open that chest. We're going to pull back to the front and lower straight down. So nice and slow. Up to the front. Open out and as wide as we can. Back to the front. And slowly coming down. We're going to do that 2 more times. Coming up. Open that chest. Drop those shoulder blades down. You can lift your chin a little bit if you need to. Coming back together. And down. All right, last one right here. Coming up shoulder height. Open wide. Back to the front. Relax. Shake it all out. All right, that's it. If you have any questions, call me, text me, email me, and we'll work it all together. I hope this was helpful. Have a wonderful afternoon.